All right, well, let's get kicked off and I'll let you guys introduce yourselves a little bit more. So welcome to this month's virtual owners meetup. This session will also be recorded and shared for you to view at your convenience on our YouTube channel. If you have missed past YouTube meetups, you can also view those on our channel. And if you're seeking more one-on-one help, I wanted to also let you guys know that we do have a rental coach program that is free to all RVshare owners. And we'll put that link in a chat for more information. So be sure to check that out. So let's get started. I'm Maddie Bourgeois. I'm the Director of Communications and spokesperson for RVshare, and I'll be today's moderator. Joining me are two RV owners who list their vehicles on RVshare. Today we'll cover a variety of topics, because we know there's a lot that goes into running an RV rental business, and we hope you find this information shared in today's conversation useful. If you have any questions, please submit them in the Q&A box, and we'll get to some at the end of the webinar. First, I'd like to introduce you to Garr. He is from Florida. So welcome, Garr, and please introduce yourself.
Hey, Garr Russell. I'm in Okeechobee, Florida. That's the big blue dot there in the middle of Florida, Lake Okeechobee. And I've been renting my RV since it started in 2016, and it's turned into a full-time business for us. And yeah, I don't know how far in detail to go, but yeah, we've got hundreds of RVs across the nation. So.
Okay, so hundreds across the nation. Awesome. Well, next, let's meet Aaron. So Aaron, you told us you're from Utah, but tell us a little bit more about yourself and your rental business.
All right. Hey, everybody. I'm Aaron from St. George, Utah. I'm a husband and father, currently switching careers. I'm also a student, and I rent my RV on RVshare. I have one RV that I rent out currently, and I've been doing it for about a year. It's been a really great experience for me and my family, so I'm excited to give you all some more information about it.
Awesome. So it kind of seems like we have the two of you on kind of opposite ends of the spectrum. Lots of experience with Garr, and then some newer experience, Aaron. So I think you'll be able to give us lots of tips and advice. Lots of people joining us today are very new to either renting and or just, a prospect of looking into trying this out for the first time. So keep that in mind as we kind of go through answering some of these questions. So yeah, let's dive into some of our topics for today. So, let's just start with the basics. Like, what are your tips for getting started renting your RV? Garr, you want to take that?
Yeah, so when I talk to somebody that's looking to rent out their RV, I usually start with a question. It's like, what's your end goal? So are you looking to cover your payments? Are you looking to make a whole bunch of money? Because then you can kind of work backwards from there. Because if you're just looking to cover your payments, well, then maybe you decide, well, I'm only going to rent it out, once or twice a month, because it does add, to your plate as far as work, with cleaning it and all the different things that go with, kind of like you said, Maddie, your RV rental business, because a lot of people don't get that until they get into it and they're like, oh crap, this or that happened. Yeah, it's a business. You're going to have customer service. You're going to have, answering inquiries and, all the things that come alongside a business. So that's usually one of the first things I share as far as like a tip is asking that question. All right, what's your end goal? Because then I can kind of help them customize, like, all right, with that end goal in mind, this is what I recommend you do. Maybe you want to have higher nightly minimums. Maybe you want to have a higher nightly rental rate. Maybe you want to have a lower nightly rental rate. So I know it's kind of a vague answer, but it's like you got to figure out, okay, why am I getting into this first? And then kind of work from there. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. And I think, we have a data point that says, a majority of people, can cover their payments by renting. And so lots of people do that to keep their RV in their driveway, be able to use it personally. And like you said, you might not need to rent it out all the time, which could lean on being less of a workload. But Aaron, do you have anything to add to that?
I would say if this is something you want to do, don't overcomplicate it. It doesn't take a lot to get started. You could take some photos with your cell phone and write a short description. I'd recommend doing a little market research just to kind of see who else is renting in your area, what type of RVs they're renting, what the price point is, what their security deposit is. I mean, a lot of that could get you started just by kind of using another renter in your area as a template. But you learn a lot as you go. So I would just say, just keep it simple, take some photos, write a description, figure out your price, get it started.
Yeah, and that actually takes us to our next question, which is how to make your RV listing stand out, and how to attract potential renters. So, taking those photos, obviously, and setting up that listing is that first step. So anything else to kind of add there as a tip?
Yeah, as far as photos, definitely, if you're wanting to stand out against the rest, certain things that we teach our franchisees to do is open all the windows, the blinds, turn on all the lights, make sure it's decluttered, take your phone and turn it sideways to the horizontal view so that you can get a nice picture. And then a lot of times too, it's kind of fun to stage a little bit, if you want to get real creative, like have some nice pillows sitting on the couch, or like the place mat set up at the table so people can kind of picture themselves in that moment. We just started getting real fancy here recently, which I love what you said there, Aaron. Like, yeah, keep it simple, because you can kind of get this analysis paralysis, and like it's 2 years later and your RV is not even listed yet. Like you definitely want to just get it going and then tweak from there. But we started doing the 3D cameras that we're sending around to all our locations. So we're doing the interiors and the 3Ds and the videos and stuff. But yeah, so you can definitely get as creative as you want, but lighting is real important, and turning your phone sideways would be the top 2 tips, I'd say, and lots of pictures, because that's going to help you on the inquiry side, because people are going to start to ask, well, now what does this look like? And what does that look like? And if you have lots of pictures that really paint a good picture, that's going to save you a lot of time, and it's going to answer a lot of questions before people even get to you.
Yeah, certainly as a consumer myself and renting RVs, like I want to see all the sleeping areas. And if one's missing, it kind of makes me be like, wait, I'm not sure. Can we all fit, or something to that extent? So to your point, definitely getting pictures of everything is important. Aaron, what else do we need to make sure is on that listing?
Well, I think you two really covered the basic. I just want to kind of drill down into the staging. I've had a few people that book just because I think my RV looks aesthetically pleasing. And like when I go on RVshare, I hate to see the dealer photos with that ugly dealer comforter, or the, looks fresh off the lot. I feel like it doesn't take a lot to kind of spruce it up and make it look homey. I travel a lot and rent Airbnbs, and, I think from my personal experience, that has a lot to do with me personally booking somewhere. So, and then I would just say the description. When I started, I had this, I don't know, this huge long description, and it was hard to get through. And I recently switched to a simple bullet point format, where I have maybe 10 bullet proofs of the important stuff. And I just feel like it's so much easier to read and get through. But yeah, I feel like that stuff, what you start off your original ad to, what it evolves to, it'll change over time. You'll figure out, ways to make it better.
Yeah, I agree. And I think including things that will be included in the RV or not is important. Just again, as somebody who rents RVs pretty often, that's something I'm always looking for, because I usually fly to my destination to rent, to explore a nearby national park or something to that extent. So having those cooking utensils and plates and cups and things like that is important to me, because otherwise, I'd have to supply them myself, and like I wouldn't be coming from home. So that is something I also like to see. And that title, I think, needs to be a little catchy, or something that's really informational up front as I'm kind of like looking through the listings. So yeah, great advice. Thank you. So this kind of goes back to your first point, Garr, about like, the small business aspect. This is an RV rental business, and even listing one RV is dipping your foot into having this like second source of income business. So what are some of the best practices when it comes to starting this out? We get a lot of questions about just like, how do you set up, or do you suggest setting up an LLC? Who do you consult on taxes? And obviously none of us are professionals at that. So maybe seeking out professionals' help is advice, but just wanted to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, definitely. I think LLCs just in general are amazing. Like that's part of the awesome opportunity we have here in America to create a business and take advantage of write-offs and all the different things that come along with that. But kind of back to the beginning of that, really the first thing when someone's asked me about that is I kind of ask them a question again, and it's like, how emotionally attached are you to this RV? Because I see a lot of people that they start and then they rent it out and then something gets scraped or scuffed or whatever, and like it's devastating to them. So that's the first thing you got to decide is, okay, am I okay with things happening? Am I okay with, things going wrong, with damage happening? Because that will happen. So then with that being said, then that does step you into, okay, yeah, so I want to separate myself personally from this asset. So yep, you want to set up an LLC. And then depending on, how far you go with this business, and maybe you want to get yourself, like a liability policy, but that's not necessarily something somebody would need to worry about right off the bat if they're just renting out their one RV. But the positive of that with the LLC and everything is really learning to take advantage of write-offs. And because like you said, we both said this is a business. So you can have a home office, you can write off part of your cell phone. Like there's a lot, if you're not familiar with the business world, there's so many advantages to starting a small business like this. And yeah, definitely you want to, get with your tax person and ask them about that. And then to set up an LLC and all that stuff. I mean, there's so many websites you can do it for $100 or less. You can go to LegalZoom, things like that. But I definitely recommend doing that,
Yeah. Aaron, how about you? How's your business set up? And since you have one RV, you might be taking a different approach.
Right. Well, I would definitely seek out professional help. I mean, the tax laws change every year. Last year, it was different than what it's going to be this year. I live in a community where they have free services. They have advisors for small business owners, through like the local college. So seek out some type of, professional help. There's a lot of information online. Personally, the way I do it, I don't have an LLC. From the research I've done at talking to professionals, it didn't seem something that was necessary for me. I do like the write-off aspect of it. So I use an app called Expensify. And when I'm buying toilet paper, cam tabs, I bought a second set of bed sheets so I could turn it over very quickly. And I like the feeling of producing my own income, having these write-offs, but before you do any of that, get some professional help. I would recommend, definitely.
Great. Okay, so moving on. So now that we're talked about listing setup and setting up the business on the back end, let's move into, how do you manage your booking requests and leads and looking at that dashboard, and then also maybe like vetting those renters? What type of questions do you ask?
Yeah, so we typically do, since we're doing this as a business, we typically do a higher nightly minimum. So we're looking like our avatar, our customer is somebody, it's like they're going on a family vacation that they've been planning, for months and months, or it's their one vacation they do a year. So, with that being said, a lot of the vetting kind of takes care of itself naturally. When it's like mom is planning the July trip that they do every year and they've gone there since they were little kids, so that takes care of itself a little bit. And then really when you get those last minute, like, hey, we want to leave in 2 hours, those are the ones where you might want to ask a couple more questions. If you've got a drivable and they're like, oh yeah, we're just, we're in Florida, we're just headed up to Michigan for the weekend, that might be a bit of a red flag. Like, okay, you're going to, go several thousand miles in a 4-day rental, that's usually when they're setting themselves up for some damage is probably going to happen, or a careless mistake. Things like that. So you'll feel naturally as you're talking to people like, okay, it sounds like this might be a good fit or not a good fit, and then you get into the different festivals and things like that, you just decide if that's something you're going to do. If you're going to do it, then just charge accordingly, or have a higher security deposit. So there's ups and downs to both sides of that, but yeah, those would be my couple of pieces of advice on that. And two, it kind of goes back to, again, what's your end goal? So if your end goal is, hey, I'm just trying to cover my payments, well, then you can be a lot more picky because you're not worried so much about making money. It's about, well, I'm just, I'm trying to make $300 a month to cover my payment, or $600 a month for my RV payment.
Yeah, and then touching on that security deposit, Aaron, do you recommend owners require a security deposit? And then how do you price that alongside your nightly rate?
Yeah, so I would definitely recommend a security deposit. Kind of go back to vetting. I mean, to me, it gives me a lot of reassurance. If somebody has, 500, 1,000, 1,500, whatever your security deposit is, if they have the money to put that hold on the credit card, it kind of tells me that they manage their money responsibly. So I think that's part of the vetting process. And as far as the price, I mean, it's so many factors. It depends on how big your unit is, how much stuff you're included. Like, I got a generator, and how much extra stuff do you have on there that you need to get covered. So I feel like that's real personal to determine that price. But again, look at other RVs on the app, find one similar to your size with the amenities, see kind of how they're charging. I think it's real important to be competitive with the other renters out there. But I would definitely recommend a security deposit. Absolutely.
Yeah, and Garr, can you talk a little bit about like pricing and nightly rate and how you determine how you're gonna price your rental?
Yeah, typically it's kind of based off what's going on in the area. But then one thing I'm real cautious about with our franchisees in coaching is make sure you're not in the kind of like a race to the bottom as far as, well, I got to lower my price because others have, or I got to lower my nightly minimums. Instead of doing that, increase your value. So it kind of goes back to like the pictures or maybe what you're including in the RV and your description. So if you're painting a better picture and you're presenting more value, well, then again, that's going to help, which ties into the vetting. Like you're going to attract a different kind of customer. So you're going to attract somebody that's kind of like you say with traveling and everything. You're looking for a certain art. You're not just looking at price. You're like, hey, I want to make sure this has all the stuff I need.
Yeah.
So, when you have all that picture is painted with the pictures and description and what you're including and all that, that really kind of helps to justify, even if you are charging more than others, because again, you're just attracting that customer. All the different types of customers are out there, and it's up to you. Which one are you going to attract, to your unit?
Yeah, it's a really good point, especially since like I would pay a little bit more per night to have those types of amenities like built in. Yeah, that's a good point. And then what do you do in like off season? A lot of people talk about seasonality and still trying to, rent their RV when it's not necessarily in season in their area. Do you change the price during that time?
Yeah, I mean, you can go down in your nightly minimums, definitely, in the off season, because people might just be, in a lot of campgrounds are doing like weekend events, right, to try and get that last amount of business, as the season is coming to an end. But then what we do, we move inventory around since we have locations in, Arizona, Texas, Georgia, Florida. People that have like the, nicer RVs, the drivables, they'll move inventory around to continue renting throughout the winter. But yeah, those are the couple things you could do. And something that we do is we're reaching out to our customers and we're offering them ideas, which I know you guys do. You're sending out emails and, hey, fall tour, think of this in the fall, so it's also like a lot of people go camping in the summer when their kids are off of school, but they don't necessarily think about, man, you can have a blast on a fall color tour. You can do this for Halloween, you can do that, you can do tailgating, so it's giving people those ideas. So going into RVshare and messaging past renters, hey, you guys had a blast in July. Did you know this campground that you went to actually has a fall festival that they do? My RV is available if you guys want to rent it, so helping them to think, because they're not RVers like we are. So they might not think of all these different ideas. They're just thinking of that summer, camping trip.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, Aaron, anything to add there?
Well, I think that depends on, where you live. I feel like we don't have much of an off season in St. George. It stays booked pretty consistently. So I haven't adjusted my price. I do take advantage of the in RVshare, have like a separate weekend rate that's a little more than just my weekday night. But as far as changes of price throughout the year for seasonality, personally, I don't. And right now it's really hot where I live, so I thought it would slow down, but right now my RV's out in Yosemite, where it's cooler in California. And then this month, someone's taking it down to Oregon. So that depends where you live, but I don't have to deal with seasonality too much here.
And remind us, Aaron, what type of RV do you own?
So I got just it's a 22-foot bumper pool. So it's a single axle. It's pretty simple. Sleeps 5, but it's I would say on the smaller side. But yeah, just a real simple travel trailer.
And what do you include in your RV, and how do you price like additional add-ons if you have any?
Well, so my goal is to make it so if someone rents the RV, they really don't have to bring anything, maybe some towels and toiletries. But I try to everything from cooking utensils to seasonings to pots and pans to TV, DVD player. I include, DVDs. So I really try to give them everything they need. I got a lot of people that fly in from Vegas and they rent a car, and then I'll do a delivery for them, or they'll rent a truck on Toro, pick up the trailer. So I try to include everything in this as far as that goes. Like I did rent an RV once and got to the destination, was ready to cook, and there's no pots or pans, and I was pretty disappointed. So I try to make sure everything's in there that you're going to need for your trip. As far as add-ons, I do have a generator add-on. I just recently added a weight distribution hitch that's been a huge success. Since I've purchased it, every one of my renters have opted for the add-on for the weight distribution hitch. I try not to nickel and dime too much, but things that are taking your time, like a dump fee. Some people don't want to dump it, right? So I'll just have that as an add-on, so they don't even have to worry about that. So I would say, I try to keep it so when they arrive, everything's in there. Add-ons, it's real simple: distribution hitch, generator, dumping fee. That's about all I have. Try to keep it easy.
Okay. And you offer delivery, and how do you price out that amenity?
Well, so I just really figured, how long am I willing to drive? So I have like a standard rate for 40 miles. So where I live, I'm close to Zion National Park. I'm near a bunch of state parks. So that 40-mile radius covers most of the destinations I feel like people are going to go to that rent the trailer. And then I do have a per mileage charge. So I'll go a little further than that, up to 60 miles. And when I came up with the price, I was factoring in, my time, because not only do you get the delivery, but you get, I'll set it up for them. If they have full hookups, I'll set everything up. I even do contactless drop-offs now. So I have keyless entry on the door. I'll set it up, and they don't even have to, I don't have to wait for them to arrive. It'll be at the campsite and they'll just show up. But as far as that price, I just figured in gas, my time, look to see what other people are charging. I don't know. My standard rate's $150 for a delivery. That's what I came up with that works for me.
Okay. That's great. And we got some questions in the Q&A definitely on this topic. So just want to cover off on them while we're on that. So Garr, you could probably help out on this too, but how do you price your, a generator? If you have that answer, is that daily, hourly? Do you have hourly limits? How do you handle gas? Do you have any tips there?
Yeah, so for generators, like onboard generators, for the drivables, we typically do that. They get 2 hours per day, and then it's $5 an hour for that. And then as far as, gas and mileage, all the franchises are a little bit different, depending on, but I believe our standard is 150 miles a day and then 39 cents a mile, the drivables. And that's not just a number we pulled out of the air. That's something that we got from an industry conference that we were at, with, what they recommend from dealerships as far as wear and tear on the drivables and the value of the RV and stuff like that. So.
Okay. And then Naomi is asking, how much do you charge for a dumping and cleaning fee?
Me or Aaron?
Either.
Okay. All right, I'll go first, I guess. So that's, again, we're kind of different on that. So, it really comes down to, like Aaron was saying, he wants them to have everything show up like it's a great experience, right? we do this more as a full-time business. So it's like, hey, we want to try and make as much money as we can while offering a great service. So we have cleaning fees and dump fees, and we rent kitchen kits. We did that as a beta at one of our franchises. We took out all the kitchen kits, and then we started offering that as an add-on for $55. And that branch brought in $15,000 extra that summer. So, and there's a lot of people that they just didn't need it. So for them to not add it was like great, because then we're not having to go through it and make sure everything's there and clean and this and that. So it kind of worked out on both sides. It generated extra revenue for us, and some people just didn't need it or use it, so it was there. But our typical cleaning fee for a towable is $125. For a drivable is $165. That's kind of our typical, and then a dump fee is right around $55. And you can also offer to people, if they want to prepay, it's also a great way to do it. So that way you kind of know what's going on with the unit when it's coming back, especially if you're scaling. If you offer a prepay option, then okay, they're not planning on dumping it, and you can give them a little bit of a discount. Or if they don't prepay and it comes back and it has to be dumped and you charge a little bit more, that's another way you can do it as well.
Great, thank you. So when you have have a new renter and you're providing them some guidance, how do you prepare them, especially if they're a first timer? Aaron?
Well, so I recently made my own renter's handbook, and it's pretty detailed with the actual real pictures from the RV and the supplies. I try to I start that out early. So if I get a booking, RVshare allows you to put in some default questions when you get a booking request. So I'll ask, what are you towing with? How many people are sleeping in? Where are you going? But also, do you have any RV experience? And, I get people on both ends of the spectrum. I get people that have never used an RV before, and they got tons of questions and they want to spend a lot of time during the walkthrough. I think that's real important when they arrive. But I kind of know the expectation before they come. Am I going to spend, 20 minutes showing them where stuff's at, or I'm going to spend an hour and a half? Sometimes that's what it takes. But I try to get a feel for that before they arrive. But just always be open to questions. And I feel like the RV handbook, people have really appreciated that, something tangible to take with them. So I'll actually, when I get the request, I'll send out a digital copy and let them review it. And then usually there's some back and forth of questions, and then we do a walkthrough when they arrive. But I think the bottom line is, some people are nervous about renting an RV. So if you gotta answer their questions and expect that sometimes.
Great. Let's see. I want to move into Q&A and answer a few more live questions. But before we do that, Aaron, one question I wanted to cover is just, as someone who has one RV, like you said, do you have a lot of other things going on in your life? And how do you manage that time? And what is your advice to others?
I think as far as time management, right now my schedule is pretty flexible. So I have the ability to offer flexible pickup and drop off times, which has been really good for building rapport with people. They're on a vacation, and it's hard to lock down times. But a few months ago, when I was working full time, I had a strict, no earlier than 3 for the pickup, because that's when I was available for work. And I felt like that was okay too. It's kind of like when you book a hotel. I mean, check-in's 2:00. That's it. You plan your vacation around that. And then the other thing that helps with time management is getting your RV ready for your next booking. So I feel like I've gotten really good at that now. And when it comes back in about an hour, I could clean it, have new sheets on it, ventilate it. And this has just been, getting tools, flush systems for the black holding tanks, and then getting a second set of sheets and pillows, so I don't have to wait for them to run through the wash. So when it comes back, I like to get it done as quick as I can. Because sometimes you do get a booking. Hey, is it available tomorrow? And it's ready. I'm ready. I could book it out. But if you work full time and this is your part-time hustle, don't be scared to set those hard pickup times, because people are used to that. and then just develop a quick and efficient way for you to turn it over. I'd say that's how you maximize your time.
Great, thank you. And Garr, I wanted to ask you just if you could tell us a little bit more about your business and how you've gotten started and have you scaled to now having franchisees. I think that would be helpful for everyone to hear.
Yeah, so I started probably how a lot of people started. You've got an RV and it's sitting around not doing much. And so you start renting it out. And being, an entrepreneur, the light bulb quickly went off. And so I started buying RVs, like literally our number 4, Isabella, all of our kids were born through C-sections. We literally went, checked in at the hospital, had Isabella, get my wife back in the room. I'm like, all right, love, I'll be right back. And I'm headed to the dealership signing on 4 RVs. And, but then I quickly realized, okay, that's a lot of overhead. That's the payments, insurance, repairs, and all that kind of stuff. So that's when I started thinking, wait, I've got friends and family who have RVs, what I call OPRV, other people's RVs. So I started reaching out to friends and family, and I have a real estate, business background. So I was able to just kind of throw the systems and processes and everything together and create a business in a box. And it was one thing to the next, just networking and the different Facebook groups. And we opened our second location in the Upper Peninsula, Michigan. And then a little over a year ago, we became an actual franchise opportunity. And now we've got 21 locations. And it's really kind of like Aaron was saying, you figure out like, okay, this is what I can do. And then you stick to those guidelines. And then for those who still want to rent their RV, but they realize they don't have the time and energy to do it, then that's where someone like us will come into play, as far as we'll do all the work for them and they can still earn some money.
Awesome. Congratulations. That's really exciting. So let's jump into Q&A. So if anyone has any questions, please feel free to submit them in our Q&A box and we'll get started. So Aaron, this one would probably be a good fit for you. How do you balance using your RV for personal use and renting it out? Do you use your RV personally?
I do, yeah. So me and my family, we love using it ourselves also. So but we're planners, so we plan out trips in advance and then we just block off those days. And I felt like we have a really great combination of being able to rent it out to produce additional income, as well as still using it for our own personal use. So I feel like it's easy to juggle those. Just block off your days. You plan a trip, block off your days, put it in the calendar.
Yeah, awesome. Garr, this one's from you, from Cheryl. She lives in Fort Pierce, Florida, and like your advice on an average rental rate for that area, if you have it.
Oh yeah, Fort Pierce. Yeah, my wife and I go there every Friday, and we walk the jetty up and down, and then we eat at 12A Bowie. And yeah, so kind of what we touched on earlier, really just look and see what's going on in your area as far as rates. Because if you're marketing on RVshare, then you're competing against the other listings in your area. So you want to have somewhat of a similar rate, or on the other side of it, you just want to offer a lot more value. So those are the two different factors to look at, is what's everyone else doing and what's my value offer in comparison to what their value offer is. Like Aaron said, he's got a great value offer. He includes a ton of stuff in the RV, so everything is thought of. They don't have to think of that.
Great. What can we do about negative reviews that aren't necessarily accurate? We haven't touched on reviews yet in this session, but as I think we could probably all agree, reviews are really important, especially making a listing more attractive, but negative reviews could play against that. So Aaron, do you have any advice for reviews and how to handle that?
Yeah, so fortunately, I have all 5-star reviews so far, but I really put a lot of effort, and I know I'm not going to keep this going forever. I know I'll have a renter that would just be impossible to please. So the way I think about it currently is, since I have established a good rating, if you get that one-off person that leaves you a bad review, you got enough positive ones to kind of overlook that. I mean, sometimes I feel like there's nothing to do to avoid that. I try to, start building rapport real early, from the first inquiry or booking request, sounding exciting for them, being available for their questions, and actually ask for a review. So I'll ask when I do the walk around, I'll say, hey, you know, we really aim to give you a good experience and we really want that 5-star review. So if there's anything during your trip we could do better, please reach out to us. And I'll ask for it again when they bring it back. You know, I'll say, how was the trip? Hopefully they said they have a great time. Say, fantastic. If you wouldn't mind, once you get settled, please leave a 5-star review. So I think don't be scared to ask for the reviews. And if you get a bad review every now and then, hey, you know, it's going to happen.
Yeah, I think to your point that like customer service touch points like throughout the trip, and if they have a complaint or something's wrong, you get an opportunity to fix it. Whereas like if review's already made and that you didn't get that opportunity. Yeah, Garr, anything to add there?
Yeah, definitely. Like Aaron said, be proactive. So build a rapport with them before the rental even starts. So if something does go wrong, because things will go wrong, well, they know you, right? So you're talking to them throughout the process of them getting to rent the RV. You know, they end up learning, hey, you're an RVer and you, this is places you like to visit. You have kids and my kids play softball. So, right, you have a connection with them. So when something does go wrong, it's not gonna 1-star review. This is the worst person in the world. Don't rent from them. You know, they ruined my marriage, because you have that connection. So be proactive. Then on the other side of it is don't react when you get and this is, sorry, I'm not into some of the day-to-day. Can you respond to the reviews in RVshare?
Yeah.
Okay. So don't react to the review, respond to the review. So what I do, and I do this more for my Airbnbs, is more make light of it. Like, because really what you're doing is you're not really responding to the person that left the bad review. You're actually talking to the next potential renter. So what you could be saying is like, oh yeah, you know, that sure is horrible how the door fell off when Joe was holding it, but be assured, you know, we went to Home Depot and we bought the best darn door you could buy. We even threw a doorbell on it, you know, like make it kind of light and a joke. So address it by talking to the next renter. And I think that goes a long way. Heck, you could even have that in your description. If it's a prominent negative review, put that right in your description. Like, yeah, don't worry about what Lisa said down there below. You know, we've got the best mattress on this bed. We just replaced it. You know, right after she said this, we went and bought a brand new Posturepedic mattress, you know, so kind of make it funny and, you know, hit it head on and address it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think again, as somebody who rents often, if I see that the review has been addressed, or it was like a review about cleanliness or something like that, saying they had a new cleaning protocol put in place, or they hired professionals now, or something like that, then I kind of move on, and I'll still, you know, think about renting that RV. So, do you use Instant Book on RVshare? If not, why not? And how do you manage potential risk if you do? Aaron, do you use Instant Book?
So I don't, and I just want to make sure I get a chance to talk to the, you know, potential renter, also to make sure that I'm a good fit, because maybe they got 6 people and they're not going to be comfortable in my tiny RV. So I always like an opportunity to talk to the person. So I have Instant Match turned off. I am very aggressive with responding to even a simple inquiry. Someone says, hey, I'm wondering about this. I mean, I try to answer within an hour, address their concerns, but I always like to talk to the renter, you know, before I actually approve the booking.
Yep. What about you, Garr? How do you guys handle that?
You know, I apologize. I'm sure some of our franchises do, because this is all they do for a business. So they would rather get the booking, and then if they find out, you know, through communication of orchestrating all the details, it's not a good fit, then maybe cancel. So I'm assuming a lot of our franchises do have Insta booking on, and some of ours are smaller. You know, some of our franchises, they still work full-time jobs and they manage maybe 10 units. So they might not have it on because they have more of a schedule, you know, to work with.
Yeah. That makes sense. Todd is saying that, you know, he's had a fleet of RVs and has been renting for 8 years. And of course, we all, you know, saw the boom of the rental market during the pandemic. However, this summer he's seen his business slow. Is this something that you guys have experienced, and, you know, how do you combat that? Garr, do you want to go first?
Yeah, we definitely have some locations that are slower this year. Florida being one of them is a little slower for us this year. And, you know, as far as combating that, especially if you have a fleet, then that's really just you got to take some more marketing efforts on your end as far as re-engaging previous renters, putting together different promotion ideas, maybe partnering with a local campground saying, hey, could we do this package, and then presenting that to previous renters. So it's getting creative, and two, part of it, like, yeah, Maddie, we saw was a huge boom, and there was also, I mean, you would know the numbers better on this than me, but I think the platform's almost about doubled in inventory. So then it got a lot more competitive. So then it's, figuring out how to, work through that as well. But that's one of the reasons with a large fleet, that's why I'm the big fan of other people's RVs, because if you've got a fleet of RVs and you have all that overhead, then yeah, you get a slow month or two, then your business can be in trouble really quick because you have all that overhead and no revenue coming in.
Yeah, Aaron, what about you? And you're in a popular destination, so that could be interesting.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and this is my first full summer. When I started last year, it's about halfway through the summer. I personally, I don't feel like it hasn't slowed down here, but I'm in a big tourist spot, and so I might not be affected like that. However, I agree with Garr said with increasing your marketing. So I've had a few people that I'll see on their Facebook story saying, hey, I'm in Zion, and and then I'll just reach out to them and say, hey, I don't know if you know, but I got an RV I rent. Or I even put some ads in like Facebook Marketplace, for my little community, because you never know who's looking for an RV to rent, and I have earned bookings, both those ways, just an acquaintance or a family friend, or just kind of doing your own advertising on Marketplace with the link to RVshare, that has worked out as well.
Yeah, and I'll say just from the RVshare end, and what we're seeing is on a macro level, the travel industry this summer is just different than the past few years. It's the first summer that people can truly travel internationally again. A lot of people are going overseas. And if you look at airlines and hotels in Europe and stuff like that, things like that are booked out. And so I think there's just more options than the summers previously, and people are opting for those since they haven't had that in the past. So that's something we're seeing on a higher level. And then, but our, mainstay like popular destinations like Utah, wherein is Florida is also a big one, but Garr said, there's been a dip there, but summer also is like a slower part of the year. Those places have remained pretty popular, but I think it also, RVshare's job is to bring more traffic and awareness to RV rentals. So many people don't even realize this is a travel option still. So as much as we can do as a collective group to be like, RV travel is amazing and you can try it out by renting, is an awesome way to get more people in the door, and a lot of first timers trying RVs for the first time.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Sorry, one more thing you could do is the rentals that you do have coming in this year is right at the end of the experience, get them to rebook with you for next year. Because yeah, we never know what the year to year is going to look like. So heck, we can do what we can do for this year, and then we can try and start working on next year. So try and get people to rebook, throw them some sort of incentive. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a discount. It could be a s'mores kit or something that costs you $5-10, but it's something they're getting for free to rebook now for next year. So they're, it'll be a good incentive for them.
Great. Next question is from Alex. Do you charge if the person is late returning the RV? Garr, do you guys charge for that, or how do you handle it?
Well, I always say to my franchisees, it's your business, so it's your call. It's, but yeah, it's a lot of times, since it is a business and we're literally, like turn around, get it ready for the next, then yeah, we do have a late fee that we charge for late returns. Yeah. And two, it just helps, even if you're not necessarily holding people to it, it helps to let people know, hey, it's supposed to be back by this time, that way somebody's not strolling in at 10, 11, 12 at night. You're trying to check the RV and it's pitch black and you can't see anything,
Oh. Jill would like to know, what type of insurance do you need when renting out your unit? Aaron, how do you handle insurance?
Well, that's what I like about renting out on RVshare. So they take a big bulk of the liability, So personally, when I go on my own trips, I just have my own RV policy. But when I rent it out through RVshare, I don't have any additional insurance personally that's covered through the platform.
Great. Gar, what about you?
Yeah, we use the insurance through RVshare. And it makes things easier too, because since it's through you and it's through the insurance program that you have partnered with, you guys are familiar with it. So if there's a claim, you know the ins and outs of it, your support team can help. So to me, it just makes sense instead of trying to go out and find some third-party policy and then introduce that into the equation. And if there's a dispute or anything like that, you're just adding another layer of difficulty to the scenario by bringing in an outside party. So yeah.
Great, thank you. Aaron, this one's for you. Would you ever consider expanding your business by adding more RVs? Why or why not?
Absolutely. So I think this is a business that's very scalable. I do want to get another RV. I guess for me, my question is, I'm trying to see what's available here, and I got a lot of questions about, should I get a big 35-footer that sleeps 10 people or a drivable one? So it's something that I do plan on scaling. I just have to do some more research before I commit.
Yep. Great. Okay, cool. Chanel would like to know, how do you get with a franchise to rent a personal RV? You want to talk about that, Garr?
How do you how does somebody put their RV into our management program? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think that's the question. It's phrased a little interestingly, but I think that would be a good thing to
Okay.
go ahead.
Yeah, you can just jump over to our website, firesidervrental.com, and then click on the Rent My RV tab. And then there'll be a bunch of information in there about, what our program looks like, where all of our locations are. Yeah.
Okay. So you guys would manage someone else's RV for them if they don't want to do the work, right?
Yeah, that's our business, is RV rental management. Yep.
Okay, cool. Let's see what else. So Steve is asking, when you kind of have a misleading renter, like for example, they're open up front about renting to 3 people, but then 7 people show up when they come to pick up the RV. Are there any recommendations to kind of handling, that misleading information, and or when you're kind of surprised about a renter's, situation when you're on site? Aaron, have you ever had that happen before?
So I haven't had that with the amount of people. Personally, for me, it wouldn't be too much of a concern. Like I said, mine sleeps 5 pretty well. They show up with 6 and someone else wants to squeeze in there on the floor. That wouldn't bother me too much. Things I'm more concerned about is maybe misleading about their destination. Recently, festivals have been a big thing. Burning Man has been an issue because a lot of the insurance companies they don't want to cover it for Burning Man. So the way I get around that actually is I let them know that I do have a GPS tracking unit, and I do. And I feel like that would kind of fizzle out anyone that plan to lie about their destination. I try not to sweat the little things, though if it's an extra person, but that's going to be your personal, what you're able to tolerate. I think it really just depends on what it is.
Okay. Willie says he has 4 units that he owns and rents out, and they're between the dates 2016s and 2022s. What's the oldest you would keep in your inventory? Garr, do you have any advice on that?
Well, first of all, back to whatever year that insurance will cover. And then after that, I mean, man, we've seen a 2005 Class A that looks brand new and still has the plastic on it, from Bill and Lisa, that it's got 7,000 miles, and so we're not necessarily, the year isn't necessarily much a determining factor. More the condition of the RV, that it's in. And another thing to consider too is, if you're some of the older units, is like parts availability. If you're like pop-ups, you can start getting into smaller pop-ups and something goes wrong on that, and that can actually end up being thousands and thousands of dollars to repair, of trying to find the old parts and the levers and pulleys and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, not so much about the year, more about the condition. If, with us as a management company, with like purchasing units, that's where you got to be careful. Like Aaron was saying, he's got to do the research, because where I've seen people really make mistakes is with the drivables. They get a drivable. I made the mistake myself. I still have this RV. I have a 2017 Jayco Greyhawk, beautiful bunkhouse 31F. It has 130,000 miles on it. I'm pretty much stuck with that RV. Like if I was to sell it, it'd probably be for like 20 grand, you know? So I made that mistake. I bought that right off when I started this business, and I started cranking the miles on it. It brought in tons of rentals. It's probably paid itself off 3 times, but I wasn't thinking wisely. I didn't pay the principal down as much as the money was coming in. So really it's thinking, if you're buying an RV, really having a good exit strategy in place, which I've learned now in hindsight. It's either you're buying older and you're getting a good deal, or it's you're running it for about 2 years and then you're selling it and you're usually taking a little bit of a loss on the sale, especially now that we have this huge dip, you know, sales are a lot slower now. So it's really your exit strategy in mind right off the bat, which like the big companies can do, like Road Bear, the big, huge Cruise Americas, they have retail lots, so they can buy them brand new, run them for 2 years and exit out of them. They have a strategy for doing that. But us, you know, we need to be real conscious of that, so you're not stuck in the scenario that I'm in right now with one mine.
Got it. Aaron, how many days per month do you rent your RV on average? Delmar's
So
asking.
I've been pretty consistent with the two rentals per month. So I usually have one, like right now it's currently out for 7 days. And then I had another one that was a 3-day rental. And then I always put a buffer in between pickup and drop off to give me time to clean the unit properly. But I would say pretty much throughout the year, I've averaged, you know, I would say it's out about 12 to 15 days per month. And that's usually consistent of 2 rentals or, you know, 3 shorter ones.
Right. Garr, this question's from Paul for you. How do you list your RVs in multiple locations for each season? RVshare currently only lets you list yours in one location at a time. Do you move your RVs around seasonally?
Yeah, we do. I don't want to get, yeah, we do have RVs that, you know, I don't know if it's because we're a fleet in our volume that we have. I don't want to get anybody in trouble here, Maddie, with my answer, but yeah, we do have RVs listed in different locations. So I don't know if that's it's some sort of agreement we have with our fleet manager where it's turned off, because I know it's all tied to the VIN and you can't have multiple listings at the same time. So yeah, I'm going to say reach out to RVshare and for that, because I don't know how to answer.
Yeah, no worries. I did put in the chat just a link to get in touch with a rental coach too. So you can always ask RVshare these types of questions and see if it's possible to, you move those locations during different seasons. Next question, let's see. Chanel asked, is Las Vegas a popular area? And I can tell you, yes, it is. Let's see. Yeah, we had a lot of questions on damages, and some are more specific than others, but maybe we can just answer it in a broad umbrella answer. So when it comes to damages, obviously that's going to happen. How do you handle those? And like, what if you have an upcoming renter? You know, how do you handle that as well? I think just giving kind of an overview would be helpful from your perspectives. Garr, do you want to go first?
Yeah, damages definitely happen. And that's where beginning I was talking about like how emotionally tied are you tied to your RV, you know, because that's going to happen. You know, and honestly, we've learned to get really creative throughout the years, especially when you're emotionally connected to your RV and then you're thinking about the next person that's going to use it. You're like, oh my gosh, it's going to ruin their whole vacation. You know, one of the cushions has a 2-inch rip in it. I should probably cancel the booking, because it's, you know, if you're work with people and you get creative, we've sent RVs out with a pop-up canopy because the awning was ripped off. And then we tell them, hey, this is what happened. Here's a pop-up canopy. It's going to be fine. You guys will be by the campfire anyway. You know, so we kind of address the situation and then move on to, it's all right. You're going to be busy on the lake anyway, but you have this canopy there if you need it, stuff like that. And so it's definitely some getting creative. If you're like, trying to keep the rentals going and keep things moving forward. But yeah, it's gonna happen. So it's just letting somebody know when damage just happened, don't worry. That's why there's insurance and deposit. And we're gonna try and get this fixed as cheap as possible, so we can get you as much of your deposit back as we can. And then on your side too, it's when damages do happen, it's like, okay, it's a little scrape on the side of a cabinet. Does the cabinet really need to be replaced? People will kind of freak out about something. No, you can buy the marker kit for $6 and just kind of paint over that, because you could have easily done that yourself the next weekend using it yourself personally. So don't get hung up on all the little things that happen, because as we know too, these RVs are not built for heavy usage. So even us in there with our own families, you turn wrong and all of a sudden like, oh man, I just knocked a cabinet door off. It's like, well, then get some bigger screws and put it back up. And so that stuff happens.
Yeah. Aaron, any thoughts on damages?
Yeah, I think there's really two kinds of damages you could expect to happen. One where you would have to file an insurance claim for, let's say there is, an accident while you're towable, something more severe. And then I would say the other side of that is just the kind of wear and tear things. Like I haven't had a lot of damage. I've been at it for a year, but I'll get someone that forgets to pull up a scissor jack all the way and I'll bang it on a rock, and that's what that security deposit's for. I let the renter know if there's any damages, just let me know about it, and I'll just report the damage. RVshare will give me whatever it is back from the security deposit. And that's what my experience has been. Maybe a torn screen, or it's been kind of little stuff does happen. There's more catastrophic things that could happen. I haven't experienced that, but yeah, that's why you have the insurance. You'd have to file a claim, but
Yeah, definitely. Alrighty, well, we're coming to the end of our time. I want to thank Aaron and Garr so much for joining us today. Their insights have been extremely helpful. This session has been recorded and will be up on YouTube later this week for you to be able to view. And hopefully we can put together another one in the near future. But thank you guys so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
yeah, of course, it
Thank
was
you.
fun.